Sequoia, the Cherokee man who gave his people writing, by James Rumford. California, 1958. Look at the tall trees, says my father. They are redwood trees. They have been alive for thousands of years. They are called the giant sequoia. Where did the name come from? It came from the name of a Cherokee Indian man who was alive when the United States was new. This sequoia must have been famous, we say. He must have fought bravely and led his people well. He must have been as tall and as strong as these trees. Yes, my father says, but not as you might think. This man called Sequoia was crippled. He was born in eastern Tennessee in the 1760s, the son of a Cherokee woman and a white man he never knew. For much of his life, Sequoia was nobody famous. He was a metal worker who could turn iron into chisels and drills, and Georgia silver into forks and spoons. Sequoia was not a chief, but he loved his people like one. He wanted them to stand as tall as any people on earth. He did not want them to disappear in the white man's world. He did not want their Cherokee voices to fade away. When he was 50, they say, he decided to capture the people's voices in writing. But Sequoia, they tell us, knew no English and couldn't read, not even the letter A. But that didn't matter to Sequoia. I will invent writing for our people, he said. Everyone laughed. Writing will make us strong. No one believed him. Sequoia began drawing hundreds of symbols, one for each word. He scratched them on slats of wood and filled his cabin with shingles of writing. He's crazy, the people jeered. They feared his signs were evil. We should teach him a lesson, the neighbors hooted. They saw no use for writing. Let's burn down his cabin, they cried. We have to make him stop. So they burned his cabin down and turned his writing into smoke. But Sequoia learned a different lesson. Sometimes disaster happens for a reason. Sometimes it says, follow a different path. Sequoia, they say, gave up drawing a different symbol for each word. There were just too many marks and squiggles for anyone to remember. Instead, they tell us, he invented letters to spell out the sounds of the language. When he had enough letters, about 84 or so, he began writing. His neighbors stopped laughing when Sequoia's 6-year-old daughter, Ayoka, learned to read. The people stopped jeering when two warriors wrote to each other. This is how Sequoia wrote Ayoka's name. The people, they say, learned the Cherokee letters quickly, Mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters left notes around the house so that they could teach each other to read. People took trips so they could have the fun of writing letters and sending them back home. It was not long, they tell us, before everyone was reading and writing. The Cherokee Nation praised the writing Sequoyah invented. And in 1824, they gave Sequoyah a silver medal. And this is how Sequoyah wrote his own name. A missionary named Worcester helped Sequoyah turn his beautiful loops and spirals into sturdy, English-looking symbols that could be printed with lead type. With these new signs, the Cherokee Nation published newspapers and books and made sure that their words would never fade away. And you can see how the symbols changed and what they were before and then what they became after. Help from Worcester. Even when soldiers forced the people from their lands and sent them west in the 1830s, the Cherokee held on to their books. Even when sickness half emptied their towns, they kept their writing. Even when English-speaking teachers ruled their classrooms, long after Sequoyah had passed away, they remembered their letters. They never let them disappear. Now, who was this Sequoyah? My father asks. He was a famous man, we say, because he invented writing for the Cherokee. He was a brave man because he never gave up. He was a leader because he showed his people how to survive, how to stand tall and proud like these trees. English speakers use an alphabet to spell out the sounds of a word. Cherokee speakers use a syllabary and write the syllables of a word. Take, for example, Sequoiah's daughter's name, Ayoka. It takes 5 English letters to write her name, A-Y-O-K-A. But it takes only 3 Cherokee letters to do the same job. Spelling by syllables is not unique to Cherokee. About 1.5 billion people in India, Southeast Asia, Ethiopia, and Japan use syllabaries.